think you muted Ernst.
It starts really well. We're already starting with a muted microphone. That's a good intro for today. Okay, it's gonna be one of those days. I can already warn you in the audience. Don't get frustrated. I will be muted a lot, and sometimes that's good as well. Sometimes people prefer it that way. So again, welcome all. We've started our panel talk about 3D skills in the circle. My name is Ernst Baart from thehockeysite.com, where coaches come to share the knowledge. While we waiting to get really started here, tell us where you live in the comments here, so that we know who's in the house here. And most of all, let's make this an interactive session. Bring on your comments, bring on your questions, bring on your remarks. We want it as interactive as possible. And let me just quickly go through the agenda for this talk here. So I'm going to give you the introduction of the panel in a little while. Then we'll touch briefly on the objective of this panel talk. Then we're going to watch some clips of 3D skills by strikers. Then 3D skills by defenders. Same from the midfield. We have a Q&A at the end, and if all goes well, we have some time for some conclusions as well. So let me start by introducing to you the panel that we have on board here. So let me point in the right direction, that way. On top, we have Keely Dunn, proud Canadian, but actually at the moment in New Zealand. So where for the rest of us, it is Wednesday as we go live here. She is already on Thursday, so everything we're gonna say here, she's already heard it. She's 12 hours ahead of us. So, but Keely is known as the Umpire Whisperer, the founder of FHumpires. Well, we're also streaming not only on my channel from thehockeysite.com, we're also streaming live simultaneously on her channel, where they obviously know all this already. But let me then also introduce you. The second member in the panel there is Joep de Mol, Dutch defender, international, very experienced defender. And Joep is a little bit in the dark there, but if he comes a little bit closer to his camera, we can see his pretty face as well. There we go, Joep. And Joep is the voice of the defender in this panel talk, but as people who follow top hockey know, he's also one who likes to move up the field with the ball on stick, so he's probably got some things to say about 3D skills, bringing the ball in the circle as well. He brought along his buddy, Phil Roper, striker for England and for Team GB, a very international, a very experienced striker as well. So he's going to be the voice of the strikers on this panel talk. He's a fellow podcaster for Joep and a former teammate from Joep. So these guys know each other pretty well. Welcome everybody. And let me not forget the last member of our panel. That is you, because in the audience, we also consider you a part of this panel. You are here to share your insights as well, your ideas, your questions and remark in the comments, and we will bring them on the screen as well. So the objective for today is pretty simple one, is all concerned get on the same page on how 3D skills can be used in our game of hockey. And the philosophy behind this is one of the few things that Keely and I agree upon. Because I, from principle, seldom agree with umpires, but on this we are on the same page. When it comes to rules, is listen to the players first. It's the players who are out there on the field. They bring the innovation, they bring the game. So we listen to them first. We listen to coaches second. Those are the people who probably think about the game the most. We even have to listen to the umpires because we can think of all the cool and crazy stuff as a player, as you know, don't be limited by your creativity, just go crazy. But it has to be manageable for the umpires as well. It has to be doable for the umpires to make sure that our game is run in a fair and safe way. So we have to listen to them as well. And only then should we write the rules of our game of hockey. So that's a little bit what we are going to try and do today about the 3D skills. Keely, have I forgotten anything? Anything to add before we move on to the clips here?
No, I don't think so. It's just that it's a really exciting opportunity, and especially for the people from my audience, I'm going to encourage you to really dive in because we've got two exceptionally experienced and knowledgeable players, and really hilarious as well, that we can ask questions of. And this is a really important way that we can understand better how we can serve the game and get the best product out there on the pitch. So make sure you get in here and ask some questions, gang.
Absolutely. So that is for the umpires following us on the FH Umpires channel, but obviously the same for the coaches on the Hockey Side Trust channel. So bring on your thoughts, bring on your questions, and bring on your ideas about the clips that we're going to show as well. Let's move on to the first clip maybe already, and that's already a really nice one. Let me bring that on here. So you can see it's a game between Bloemendaal and Den Bosch, where Jart Kroon is receiving the ball on the edge of the circle, receives it on its stick, bounces it on a stick alongside the back line, and volleys it into the goal here. Beautiful goal, obviously. It stands as a goal in this game. But Phil, let's maybe start with you. If you look at this way of receiving the ball, bringing the ball forward, and finishing on goal, do you think should this be allowed? Should this be promoted and encouraged? Should we train for this?
Firstly, it's like, as you said, an exceptional piece of skill. I think secondly, looking at it more closely, at no point does he take that ball anywhere like into any defenders or seemingly makes it dangerous. Thirdly, it's like incredibly exciting, and so this is, I guess, we've already touched on it being making the game as exciting as possible, and this is going to get people watching hockey, this type of stuff. So I'm fully supportive of this goal standing.
Yeah. Do you think should a skill like this be trained with your teams?
Yeah. I mean, we try and work on 3D skills as much as possible. This is pretty difficult skill, but I guess 100%. Like, if you're taking the ball and moving at speed, and like you say, you're not actually bringing that into contact with any defenders, it's incredibly hard to stop. And I think if that's going to give you more chances of scoring goals, then why not?
Mm-hmm. Joep, what are your thoughts? How can you defend this? First of all, also, should this be allowed? Should this be promoted and encouraged? And how do you defend an action like this?
I think the simple answer is you don't. I think this is such an exceptional piece of skill that I don't know what the could have been. And I think, as Phil said, I don't think it brings any danger towards other players. He keeps his body in between the ball. As opposed, it is. I also don't think it's. But we have an umpire here. But high is not a rule, right? It's only danger. Like, if the ball goes high into the circle, it doesn't matter, right? So yeah, in my opinion, it's just I don't know how you can train this. To be honest, I think this is something that I don't think Jorrit ever trained this. It just happens to you. Like, I don't think Phil is not really a player who carries the ball in the air much. So I don't know why we have Phil here, but he's a really good player. But yeah, I think this is like exceptional, as you said. I don't think there's much you
Hey,
can do as a defender or.
Phil needs to learn from this as well. Come on, give it to him.
Okay.
He needs to learn from this as well.
It's like school for Phil. Well, Phil, look at this and try it next game. Good luck.
just don't try it against the Netherlands, then, please.
Please don't.
Keely, what's the umpire's point of view here?
Yeah, we reviewed this clip on What Up Wednesday shortly after it happened because it was all the buzz on the socials. And I think the consensus was large majority, even with us stodgy umpires, we thought this was brilliant and loved watching it. To be able to be on the pitch and witness this kind of skill from up close is just awe-inspiring. So we definitely don't want to get in the way of this. What I think, you brought out a good point that it's not about the height. It's really only about the danger. And what it is for me is that there isn't any defender actually closing Kroon in this case. The number 2 could have stepped in and maybe jumped off his player, but he just faded. He just went away. And that's kind of the interesting question for me. And I don't like hypotheticals. So I like to examine what's right there in order to distill principles that umpires can learn from. But what I wonder is, had a defender actually been in that space that Kroon was dribbling to, how would that have changed the dynamic? I assume that a player of that skill level would have dribbled away, maybe would have dropped the ball at that point and maybe, pounced on his foot or something like that. So obviously that changes everything. But because there was nobody there and the goalkeeper didn't even close. So in that case, there's absolutely nothing to worry about. And I think had any of that changed, you would have seen a different play on the ball, because I don't think that top players who are executing this skill take it into contact that way in the same fashion, because it's not effective. They know they're going to give up the ball. So I thought it was great. It was tons of fun to look at. And
Yeah.
I think that, as we'll see other examples, it's about us as umpires being able to see where the closing does happen and making an accurate assessment of whether there's actually any danger there.
Yeah.
I
Joep, do you agree? Do you agree with the comment
agree.
here?
Yeah, I agree with the comment. I don't agree with the comment that's below it from Jolt Cola of Evil.
Yeah.
What a name, by the way. But I really don't agree, because he says that number 2 has to move forward and contest the space. But if you're a defender, you have to follow your guy there. So I don't think he can do anything. I think the other guy who's next, like as a defender, you should make it. It sounds really stupid what I'm about to say, but make it dangerous, if that makes sense. So if you move into the player or move into the ball, I think then it becomes dangerous. If you move out of the way, I think that's what he's trying to say. It's more the other player on the other side who's running next to him. I think you should run into it a bit more to make it dangerous. Now everyone's giving him the space. I don't think number 2 can do anything about it, because his guy is in front of the goal.
No, agreed there. We got the question here from Baart Rajulu. Any pointers on how to train this skill at under 14, under 16 levels without being dangerous and possibly not hurt?
Yeah, I think this is clearly something that you would train when you're completely uncontested. You're not doing like a 1v1 drill. You're setting out maybe some strips where people can start lifting the ball over. If they're getting confident, they can keep it in the air, and then you're finishing with a open-handed shot near the goal, and you can even have a goalie in there. I think there's plenty of varieties where you can do this and practice and it not be a complete carnage.
Yeah. And I think this is what Joep said earlier as well. One of these situations where you let just the creative players do their thing, as you let them do it at the training practice as well, and then sometimes something magical comes from this. If you have players like Joep Cohen obviously on the team. Okay, let's move on to clip number 2 here. And this is a phase of Korea versus New Zealand. And you see the Korean player in red bringing the ball high on his stick, bouncing it and trying to enter the circle. But he's being closed down there and he gets the fault against him. Phil, we've just heard from Joep that usually you don't bring the ball high in these situations. but is this a skill that you would allow or promote or train or encourage to do it like this, to enter the circle like this?
Yeah, he got a foul against him here, just to clarify. Yeah. Just to clarify, Joep already messaged me straight at the start of when you invited me, saying, I've got no idea why they want you here, because you never do this. So I do have to agree. I'm not a huge one for lifting the ball in the air, but I mean, it's a hugely worthwhile skill, and it makes it so much more difficult for the defenders. Going back to this clip, yeah, I don't see at what point it's dangerous. And if I'm honest, it looks like a foul that should be for career when you just stand there and absolutely slam into a bloke who's running pretty fast. Again, it makes it really hard to obviously can't do anything like block tackle. You've got to have incredible hand-eye to be able to pick this ball in the air, which I think is the main reason people do it. And to me, it looks like he should be getting a foul or a penalty corner there, but that's my take.
Yeah. Well, if we're going to the foul there, Keely, let's. Why is he getting the foul against here?
Well, so I think this is a difficult angle, so I'm going to give that. But it's the second defender who comes in just from out of shot. So it's not 5 here. It's number, I think, 12 who pops into the picture there. And he's occupying the space. And yeah, on the back line. And he's looking to make a tackle. And at this point, like we've talked about before, if the attacker brings the ball at in a raised space, I want to be careful about using the word height, but if they're raising the ball and they're playing it into a defender, we're trained that is much more likely to be dangerous. And so that's where that comes in. And because he doesn't have a ton of control, 99 is trying to keep it up in the air, and he's got his head down a little bit. That's got to be a little more difficult than, say, a standard skill that's down on the turf. And just, I mean, for me, the attacker's running into the defender there, and also the ball is dangerous in that case. So that kind of raises an interesting point for me, because I'm the one who put together all the clips. And when I'm looking for these things, and I notice these things in the games, it seems that attackers do this quite frequently when they have the boundary of the back line available. So in the last one with Kroon, he's close to the back line. This one, definitely on the back line. And that's interesting because you're already in a confined, like, where am I going to go space? And I mean, Phil, like, you tell me, is that where you would usually be trying to work some magic horizontally on the pitch in order to get the players off balance? And is that not harder if you have the ball in the air to move it horizontally? I'm not a rocket surgeon. I'm asking an honest question.
Yeah, for sure. Like, being able to do this skill and change direction at speed and in control of the ball is going to be near enough impossible to stop. I don't like the argument about like players can't, or someone said that players can't evaporate, or like he's looked like he's ran into him. Like, I know, sorry to generalize here, but like that defender knows exactly. Like, I'm coming from an attacker's point of view. That defender knows exactly what he's doing. When it's slow mode, he misses the tackle. The guy who ends up slamming him, and then you see him start to raise and put his shoulder into him, and that's the stuff that like riles. Like, I think why I probably back the attacker again is because it looks like he's tried to actually make a tackle with his stick, and then he's missed it and decided that he'll, like people say, like, stand in the way. I don't know what your take is on that, Keely or Joep.
Joep, as a defender, how do you look at this?
Yeah, I think it's funny Phil raises the you can't evaporate, because I as a defender I agree with that statement more than I do with Phil in this one, because I feel like he raises the ball like on like on such a height that, like, if let's say you put your hand on the ground, I think it's on head height, if that makes sense. So I think the ball is already like too dangerous. If it would touch the body, it would touch like above the knee, so that makes it for me already dangerous. Yeah, I do get what Phil is saying, but you, like, if you, the thing you learn as a defender, especially internationally, is that, like, it's either the ball that passes you or the guy, but not both. That to make it simple. And I think if he doesn't really, like, I get that he like prepares himself for the impact, if that makes sense, and I get that makes it come across bad, but also, like, annoys attackers, but I think you can't expect the guy to like move out of the way and let him enter the circle for free. So I think this one is a tough one, but I think because of the height of the ball, I think it's a foul. But I do get at worst I would say this would be a free hit for Korea if you would say the ball's not dangerous, but I think it is, my opinion.
I also struggle to what this is going to get into a really deep question, but what is dangerous? Like when you're running at that speed, if like the ball like hits you, if that ball, because he stood up, so he's not in a block tackle. If that hits you like on the chest or whatever, is that dangerous?
I guess for the umpires,
I don't think
yes.
Yeah, but I don't think it's about danger.
Well,
it's like
not
the rule
dangerous
says you
for
can't play a
umpires
ball above the
because
knee, right?
yeah,
Sorry, you-
exactly.
you-
And
yeah.
that's the problem, is that we're looking for something that is somewhat objective in order to give you that certainty as players that you're like, oh, this is consistent. Whenever it's played into our body at the knee height or above, it's got to be dangerous. And we're taking that. It's a really interesting thing that that's taken from the drag flick guidance in the penalty corner rules. And it's been generalized to all these other situations on the pitch where it actually strictly doesn't apply. But with the advent of video referral especially, it's that, well, how do we look at this in VR? Are we looking for injury? Are we looking for you to be hurt in order for us to call it dangerous? Like, that doesn't seem right. That seems like it for us. It's not just, okay, the way that I look at it, it's not just about whether you're worried about being hurt. It's that it's being played at a height that a player at the skill level that's existing on the pitch would have difficulty protecting themselves at the speed that the ball's going at and at the range that the ball's been played at them, right? So how far away it is. So if it's likely going to get played into your body because you're that close and it's up here and it's really, really difficult, then there's sort of a disadvantage element to the danger, if that makes any sense. I don't know, but I'm also not a fan of absolutes. If the ball gets lofted into somebody really, really lightly, and Joep's down there defending and it gets lofted into his hip and he barely even feels it, but on video referral we have to give that as a penalty corner. Like, that doesn't seem right. But I don't know how else we can give you consistent decisions that way.
Yeah, it's the eternal decision of do we want umpires to make subjective decisions about danger, yes or no, or do we want to have an objective measurement there? Huh? But in all honesty, for me, the danger in this clip is created by the Korean attacker, by the Korean striker. The defender is there. The Korean striker has the possibility to avoid the collision by just moving, swirling outside of the pitch and then coming back in. So my guess is this would be dangerous from the Korean striker as running into the player. But yeah, that's the point of the viewpoint of a defender here as well. Sorry, Phil.
All good.
All good. All good. Well, let's. We've seen some comments here already. I've seen a couple of comments that I'm keeping as questions for the Q&A at the end. Let's bring on this one again from Raju then. I feel no ball is dangerous until and unless it goes into the player above the height permitted. Yeah, even then, if it's a softball or a hard ball, makes a difference, obviously. Yeah. But let's look at another clip with a similar action. So the third clip here is from the Junior World Cup women, where we see an American player also coming over the back line, lifting the ball, bouncing it on her stick, creating the space for herself, and then finishing on goal. Here she's given the opportunity to continue, both by the defenders and by the umpires in this case, and she scores a beautiful goal. Again, Joep, how do you defend something like this here?
Yeah, I think it's a really good action. Sometimes we sometimes say you have to just give a hand to the opponent and say well done. I don't think anything is defendable. Yeah, I think this is just a good action. I think the thing is with what makes it tough, um, with like the height, is that you have to like really go for the ball. You got to be assertive. You can't wait for them to walk into your stick. Put your stick on the ground, wait for them to walk in. That's what makes it tough, because you'll hit a stick way quicker than you'll do the ball. But I think that's what you need to try to do, is just keep running with her in this case, and try to like jab the ball away. Um, we did like in, I think it was Tokyo. Phil, you have to help me a bit. But in Tokyo, there was a rule that if you entered on the back line and you made a tackle and the ball went over the back line, that it was a corner because of I don't know how you say it in English, but that you played the
Intentional.
ball purposely over the
Intentional.
back line. Intentional, yeah. So if you carry the ball high on the back line, there's only one way for the ball to go. That's over the back line. Um, but that's what, like with the rules nowadays, I would say that's the only thing you can do is try and jab it away, or like tap it away over the back line. I don't think there's another option.
But to me, this is really interesting because basically, like, if the player, not the player who's getting beaten now, if she did what you're basically saying though, is that if she did what the guy in the last clip did, of just stand in the space and take the hit, then it should be the defender's free out. But instead, she goes for like a wafty, like, it gives the
Yeah,
girl the space. So like, well, I mean, I don't really like that tip, but that's a tip for defenders, isn't it? Basically, stand in, if they've got the ball there, stand in their way, because like Joep's already touched on, like ball or man. Because, and I don't really like what I'm saying, but like what you've just taught me is that number 12 should literally stand in her way and take almost like a charge in basketball, and
yeah.
then
It's like a
she's gonna
charge
get
in NBA.
she's gonna get a free out.
Do the block. What do you think as an umpire here, Keely?
Yeah, I think the problem that we see, so if you're watching a large volume of these kind of clips, and this has sort of been the theory that I've developed, and I'd love to get I've got everybody's feedback on this, is that number 12 there, she reaches in with a flat stick, but a flat stick that's in the air. So she'd be horizontal on the ground if that ball was on the ground. And that is obviously a trained, skill in order to make those tackles. But if the ball is not moving back and forth horizontally on the ground, why would we try to tackle with our stick horizontal in that position? And that gets back to, I can't remember who it was that was talking about the vertical stick. And this is something that I've sort of mentioned as a like, is this a thing? And to be honest, what I have clipped, and unfortunately I didn't have the opportunity to find those clips here in New Zealand, where defenders have had more of a vertical stick, and as somebody has dribbled at them, they've been able to pick the ball out of the air cleanly, and off they go with the clean tackle. And you're like, wow, how did that happen? But it actually, it is possible. So it's not even as much that 12 comes in and takes the hit, but if she makes a good attempt at the ball with a block tackle, but she's in that vertical position, and it's the attacker who's going like this, she's the one creating the stick obstruction. Never mind the danger. There's sort of the two overlapping layers of that. And I wonder if that's something that when we start moving on to, how do defenders defend against this? I was talking to Nicole Human here, one of my friends from FH Academy coaching courses, and we asked her last week on a live stream, what are we training defenders on? And she says, we're way behind on this. We just haven't even really looked at it. So, like, when I say that, does that sound to you like, okay, that's something maybe I would try? Or do you think, oh, she's on drugs, that's never going to work?
It's somewhere in between those two. No, no. I
I'm
So it
on
might
mild
work if
drugs.
you're on
Okay.
drugs. If you're on drugs, it might work.
no, I get like in theory I think that works, but I think then you can't make a vertical tackle if your body is not in the way. If that makes sense, your body has to be, your stick has to be in front of your body to make a vertical tackle. So I think that's what Phil means, is that you kind of go in. The reason she has a horizontal stick is because it's out of her reach, like it's not within her body, and you can put your stick vertically if it's not in front of your body, like. So I think the position needs to be more vertical. I get what you mean because you have more like stick to work with, but I think it has to be. I think it's a bit what Phil and you say. It's like a combination of that. You gotta be willing to take a hit if you don't take the ball, because then he moves into you and she moves into you and it's a foul. But I think it starts with body position, I think.
Yeah. We got comments from the audience telling us that she's happy with the goal. Ian here, raised ball not near enough either defender's body to be dangerous, and Rachel agrees with him. I think that this is a clean goal, but I wouldn't call it poor defending. But yeah, agree with the analysis that this is the kind of defending where you need to put your body in the way probably. If they're really skillful, they'll probably move inside at that moment when you really block the line, because here there's more space than the example that we had with the Korean attacker. But yeah, so the question here from Baart is: are we saying that the defender could have gotten a better body position with a vertical stick, Keely?
Going from what Joep was saying, which makes total sense, is that the stick position comes from the body position. And yeah. I mean, that is pretty basic sort of coaching, is that defending starts with the body. And what spaces are you trying to take away by taking hotline, by offsetting, by doing whatever? So I think, Varad, maybe it's the other way around, is that the body position allows for the possibility of a vertical stick. Do I have that right, Joep?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. The coaches I've talked to about this is how can you train for this, and do you train for this? And the comment that you made about your friend in New Zealand, the coach there, Keely, as well, is every coach that I've talked to is they don't train this. I've talked to coaches on recreational level in the last couple of weeks, and at the top level as well. They train on intercepting the ball, obviously, and the difference between outside the D and inside the D, and there's a difference in tackling and getting that ball. But really focusing on a training drill or a training exercise where there's the 3D skills, I haven't heard a coach yet who's training on this. So should we, or is this something that just comes with the technique and the flair that you develop as a defender?
It comes more naturally, doesn't it? Sorry, I've just jumped in. But like if you're training, we're training a lot, and you're training 1v1 drills, like you're going to have defenders that are going to be naturally lifting the ball into space, and you're going to be sometimes training that along a baseline. The biggest thing I think sometimes people miss is that actually just in this clip, like coaches think that they can sometimes the baseline is their friend, but in actual fact, it's actually the quickest way to the goal in this instance. And people can, like, coaches probably can, in my opinion, work more on the premise of like make this girl work up the pitch to try and score a goal, because she just goes in the fastest route possible here. And that is I think a Karma Elizabeth basically said what I was trying to say. You like get in the line with the ball, make her do something, make it dangerous, or make her go around you.
Elizabeth, and that obviously if you get in the line of the ball, but then if the defender goes, the striker goes inside of the field, then she gets a better angle at goal. So you want to have the two defenders working together here, where one is blocking the line, obviously, and that straight direct route towards the goal, the shortest route to the goal, and you want the other one preventing, obviously, that they move inside. But yeah, that's easier said than done, isn't it, Joep?
It is.
It is.
Been on the end of a lot of these actions and not taking the ball. So
exactly.
Sorry, Ernst, if I can, I want to jump in on that question, because I know where Akama is going with that, which is this notion that there are situations on the field that if a defender moves into a particular space, we say it's actually the defender who's creating the danger for themselves. So, for example, on penalty corners, if it's a drag flick and the defender's standing on the post and they're there because they want to try to stop a shot, we're saying that it's actually the defender causing their own danger there, because they're taking that risk without having the benefit of all the penalty corner equipment. goalkeeper equipment, all that stuff. And so we don't want to encourage them to take up those spaces without having the legitimate means to play the ball. This is a very different situation. So we don't want to generalize that it's a defender who's creating their own danger here by taking up a good defensive hotline. It kind of goes back to the Korea New Zealand clip a little bit where Phil was saying, well, it's the defender who's gotten in there and is just blocking space. But I think we're still on the other side of that but for the ball being in the air, there's, that would be the result. The defender is just there blocking the space and misses the tackle. But here, it's that the attacker has chosen to put the ball in the air, and as so long as they're the ones taking that ball into that contact, it's the attacker who's creating the danger. So I really like how Akamba's brought that out in her question, but I don't think we want to get that all mixed up with, other situations where defenders cause their own danger, if that helps.
Yeah. This is then the question that you get here from Ian. Says, but defenders need to be there early so that they own the space, and running in late is likely to cause a collision and probably a penalty corner or even penalty stroke against. But in all honesty, I think that the rules should be so that the defender's job is to prevent that. So they need to get in between the striker and the goal. And it's up to the striker to move around them. Probably again the viewpoint of a defender here, Phil. So apologies to the strikers, but yeah, I always think it's very strange when it's blown against defense for getting in the way of the goal.
Well, if they miss the tackle and it's not dangerous to them, then that's just shit defending. So.
No, obviously.
I'm sorry, and then the question was directed at me. Sorry.
No, not at all.
Every question is directed at you, Joep, because Phil, obviously, like you told in the beginning, never lifts the ball. So he's only here as a prop on the meeting. So assume every question is directed at you, Joep. You have to save us here.
Perfect.
Okay. What have we got? The last comment here before we move on to the next clip from Baart. So my thoughts are training close receive, sticks in front of the body as a skill, and talk about different game contexts, offense or defense during training could help perhaps. What are your thoughts? Either Joep or Phil.
Yeah, I mean, you can. I'm sure it would help with your hand-eye if you're training bouncing balls and lifted balls, and your head is over your hands, which obviously makes it easier to do. So I can't see it hindering it. I'm not sure it's going to be a hugely beneficial, but I think in some way, yes.
Yeah. Okay, let's move on to a clip from Ambre Ballangère, the Belgium striker, who is receiving the ball on the back line, brings it up, brings it down into the foot of the Spanish defender, but gets the fault against her. So what are your thoughts here, Phil? Should a skill like this be promoted or encouraged, or what's the fault here? Do you consider this dangerous?
No. I think you're going to see a common theme here. I don't see any danger there, and I would be if I ever did lift it and I did that, I would be very, very angry if I got a free hit against there. Like, I don't think at any point there that there is a great amount of danger. Yes, she's lifted it over her knee height, but yeah, I see that as good skill and something that she's instantly got the defender on the back foot, and then gained a huge opportunity out of that.
Well, you see here it is.
Yeah,
high above the knee.
I 100%
the defender is not
agree.
there. Yeah, and here it is below the knee when she brings it down to the foot, and then it just moves on.
This is just shit umpiring, to be honest, because the ball doesn't even touch it touches the shin pad of the Spanish player. I think this is just a really good action, but I don't know why she doesn't ask a video, or they lost it already. But it's a clear corner, right?
Nope.
Oh, tell us, Keely.
They still had
tell
it.
us.
So yeah, here's let me add a little slant on this just in case. Now I'm not entirely sure, but when I'm watching the umpire's secondary signal, as we call it, on this, I think what she's actually calling is a stick obstruction by Ballanine here, in that in the action of hitting the ball down into the defender's foot, that she smacked her stick at the same time or just before it or something like that.
But
at the same time, I just don't think that disadvantaged her from playing the ball. So, like, I'm just watching her.
Wouldn't that be the stick obstruction by the defender in this case? Because she's playing the ball and the defender is putting her stick in there. So there is contact if you see it. But
if the defender isn't swinging at the ball and her stick is just there and an attacker comes along and is like smack it as they're moving the ball around, well, they haven't created the stick obstruction. Like, the attacker's the one who's smacked the defender's stick out of the way. Like, let's, push it to the extreme. So in that case, it's like I don't know, it's not a stick shield, but it's an attacking stick obstruction because their stick gets smacked out of the way. No, I don't know, and I don't agree either. I don't, but it's just something that it makes it difficult because we do have these nuances and these little things, and sometimes it's in the secondary signals that we see something else that the umpire is seeing. We're like, oh, it's because, and unfortunately, it can come through because of the stick noise. So that's a big challenge for umpires in these 3D skill assessments, is not to react to stick noise, but look at whose stick is actually obstructing whom, who is hitting the other dude's stick. And so that could be the attacker because they're going like this and they're hitting the ball up in the air, and in that process smack the defender's stick, who's just there with a nice vertical, and then boom, you can give the free out for that. Or it can be that the defender comes through and is reaching horizontally and like swings out of the air, and that hits the attacker's stick. So everybody says, well, it's an automatic foul by the defender, but it isn't. It isn't. It could be an attacker foul. So
if I can pitch in real quick, I agree with almost everything you say. I do think that sometimes as referees, it helps to also think, and this comes across a bit. I don't mean it to come across as it's coming across, but just think logically sometimes. Like as well, when I don't think a referee can see if it's backstick or not. When a player hits it on goal, for instance, sometimes referees tell me, yeah, you can't really. We have to see whether it's backstick or not. As the example you say, I think sometimes you can trust that when you hear a lot of stick noise, you can trust that it's probably not the ball that's being played. Or if, for instance, as I said, if you see the ball move up vertically when someone shoots a backhand and bounces after a meter or two, I think you don't see the backstick, but you can assume it's a backstick. So that's also a bit of a gray area, and I completely understand what you mean. You cannot, you have to referee what you see and not what you think happens. But I think sometimes you can also take in that little bit of logic, as in to make it easier for yourself. That makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I get asked all the time from umpires, how sure do I have to be? What do I actually need to see in order to make this decision? And some people try to claim that you have to be able to see every element and it's extremely clear. And but really better decisions come from being able to infer with a good degree of certainty. And that's what you're talking about, just in different words, that if you see the factors that lead up to it. One of the things I try to encourage umpires to do when they're looking at these, here comes a tackle, two players are coming into contact, is to shift their focus to the defender, because the defender is actually moving less. They're slower in this case. They don't have the ball that they're going woo, 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 and doing all the cool things with. So you can actually see what they do more easily. And if they don't do anything wrong, if they don't swing at the ball, if they just have their stick down and then mysteriously they're not able to make a tackle, well, it's probably because the attacker has either shielded them with their body or shielded them with the stick or something like that. And that's where the noises come from. And so you can go with the defensive foul, a foul for the defender. So there's ways that you can infer with a greater degree of certainty, but we do want to be careful. We don't want to just say, well, because the ball moved in a particular way, that's clearly a back stick, because we could be assuming too much and not picking up enough of the cues, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, fair.
Okay, let's move on to clip number 5, where we see Agustin Mazzilli doing his silky skills, receiving the ball here and also looking for the back line, carrying the ball on the stick, not bouncing it, but carrying it, and then trying to lob the goalie. He doesn't succeed here, but the action before is beautiful. So, what do you think again, Phil? Is this something that we should promote and encourage, train for this, or is this something that should be forbidden? Is there a difference between a player who carries the ball on his stick or bounces the ball on his stick?
You're obviously in a lot more control the way Mazzilli does it here. Like, if you can carry the ball in that low position below his knee and still have full control, then it's definitely something that I'm not going to say that you shouldn't allow it. To be honest with you, I don't really completely see the point in this. It just, but again, it seems to get people excited about hockey, so I'm very for that. I see Argentinians do it a lot. I'm not going to go away and practice this. I without sounding insanely arrogant, I think I could do that. I just don't see the point. It is harder to tackle because you'd have to make swiping like a gesture. So I guess it's more difficult to tackle, but it's also way more difficult to make a pass, to keep your eyes up, to like threaten, to carry a different way, to V-drag, to use your body. So yeah, long answer. I'm completely fine with the skill, but I'm not writing home about it.
Yeah, as you said, we shouldn't have asked Phil. We should have asked Mazzilli probably to be the striker in this call. Yeah, Joep, how do you fend against something like this, Joep?
No, I'm really happy Phil's here. Let's make that clear. No, I think I think defenders, if like this is more and I think as Phil said, it's something Argentinians do a lot, or quite like it's Mazzilli and Keenan that used quite often. Like if you ask me, the defender should be allowed to go from his right shoulder to the left ankle if this happens, because I think just like showboating. I don't know. As Phil said, I think it's not very useful. But yeah, it looks very cool, and I think people who don't follow hockey very closely will think this is a really cool action. But it's impossible to defend this really clean, because the ball is on the stick. You almost have to hit his stick to make something happen, or move your body in the way of the action. But yeah, as I said, I don't think a lot of defenders will get very uncomfortable when people move like this, because you have no vision. You can't really move anywhere else than the ball on your stick. So I think the lesson in this one is that it's hard to defend, to take the ball, but it's also impossible for the attacker to do something extremely useful with the ball.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Keely, umpiring point of view from this?
Well, personally, I'm in favor of whatever the players really want to drive the game, as long as we can keep them safe. So if players are saying to me that, yeah, this is great because nobody's going to get hurt here, then all right, develop the skill. What I really like is that both Joep and Phil have pointed out that there is a downside to this. So there's a whole old guard of umpires out there who are like, this isn't hockey and this is terrible and we're not hurley and or whatever sport they want to label this as. But this is a problem for what it costs other things like the vision, like the mobility, being able to move laterally to make other choices. The only thing that a player can do here really is lob the pass or lob the shot, as Mazzilli tries to do here, or put it down onto a foot, which we're starting to see much more of in at this skill level. That's what the players are doing, because all of a sudden the defenders are up a little higher, and then boom, it goes back and down onto their feet, and their stick is up here because they're going to try to tackle up here, and then their feet are exposed. So that's the only positive I think of it, and there are a lot of downsides. So I think it's more important for us to get out of the way of the skill evolution as long as it's safe, because to me that's what every rule in hockey is about, is to keep players safe. Everything else, let's just sit back and applaud and do that for them. So I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it as long as nobody dies.
Well, that's a good rule, as long as nobody dies. Joep, you already mentioned him. Let's look at more or less the same skill, but now from Keenan, also Argentinian, here in the black, receiving the ball on the sideline. And as you can see, he's dribbling along the sideline until the German defenders are cornering him and tapping on the stick, and he gets the foul against him. So, yeah, again, Phil, you wouldn't be caught doing this probably, but do you think that this is the same problem as the other one? You lack vision when you do this?
Yeah, at no point I don't think he's planning on passing this anytime soon. If you watch his head, again, like it's when you slow it down, he the way he moves with the ball is really impressive. And as Keely said, I'm all for people expressing themselves and making hockey exciting. But yeah, I'm just not actively promoting this. It's good skill, but I just don't know where it necessarily gets you, apart from you running with the ball with your stick on the air. And that is a really good point. People are getting really good at doing this and then flipping this onto reverse and putting it down onto someone's foot. But yeah, I probably have the same thoughts as the last clip.
Yeah. We see a very experienced defender in the German Zwicker here with the headband. Trying to tap the ball away from the stick. Do you think we see this now, Joep, because this is not in the circle? And he wouldn't be doing it like this, trying to steal the ball from him, if this was an action in the circle?
Yeah, I do think, especially with the level of corners nowadays and internationally especially, I think defenders are very careful, very cautious in their own circle with making tackles, or at least whether the ball is on the ground or on the air. Defenders are more cautious nowadays than they were. But I think now this one as well, he carries the ball pretty high. And I think now Baart does a really good job of tapping the ball into Keenan and makes it dangerous. But it's on the same height as Keenan was carrying the ball. So I think this is really well defended. I think this one is pretty hard to umpire, because at one hand you can say it's too physical from both Zwicker and Baart. And on the other hand, you say Keenan is carrying the ball at such a height that he kind of makes it dangerous. And sometimes that's also the case. As an umpire, it's impossible to make the right decision, because now he gives the ball to Germany and Argentina is complaining. If you now give the ball to Argentina, Germany is complaining. That makes sense. So I think this is a really tough one, because to be honest, I've looked at it 6 times now, and I still don't really know what the correct decision is.
Yeah, Keely, apparently umpiring is difficult.
What? Come on.
Yeah.
More. Actually, it's really funny because when I saw this live, I looked at this and I was like, no, that's the wrong call. And then the more I watch it, the more I'm torn between that. I kind of see Zwicker and Payat being sort of split here, and Keenan is sort of slicing that space. But I see Zwicker, like, to me, he's reaching in there and he's trying to break that before it gets to the 23. Okay. And then that reach in there, I think that actually makes contact with Keenan's stick. And he's really got no play on the ball there. So I think he's actually trying to break down the play outside of the circle at that point. But it's hard because we don't have a good angle of where Payat comes in, because it's kind of like, I wouldn't call that as dangerous, but if Payat makes a successful tackle there, then everything is probably okay. And let's but I feel the same way. I look at this and I'm really not sure. I'm really not sure. And at that point, I'm
But
wondering, as players, do you want us just to play this on and just go, no, we'll let you sort it out, and then we look like dummies because we're like, shrug? Or do you want us to say, let's defer to giving a free hit out, clean it up, don't let anybody start smacking each other with sticks? Like, what would you want here as a player, given that it's so really kind of going either way?
I think it's kind of two-sided, this one. I think like you should, I think referees should play on as much as possible. So if there's no danger here, I think it's just a carry with the ball. And if the attacker decides to carry it on hip height and he gets and he gets a couple sticks swung at him, yeah, that's his own risk, to be honest. But I think and that's a really good point by Phil. And that's why I don't like. I think it looks really cool, this one again, because he carries the ball for like 23, 30 meters on his stick. But if you look at the clip, Keenan hasn't had his head up for 1 second. He's carrying the ball on his stick again. Looks cool, but as a teammate, you would have been quite annoyed. He for 30 meters carrying a ball, he has not seen one of his teammates or is able to play a pass on the position he's carrying the ball in. So again, what Phil says, I'm all for everyone using their creativity and expanding the game and expanding techniques. But I don't think this is like something that's in such a long stride very useful. But should referees allow this? Yeah, I think in my opinion, same with the aerial ball rule. But I think that's a whole different black hole we don't want to enter. But I think you should play on as much as possible and trust, especially at the level internationally, at Olympics, World Cups, Pro Leagues, etc., etc. You should allow play on as much as possible and let them figure it out themselves instead of by setting boundaries and saying, okay, this is dangerous, this is not, like stuff like this. Yeah, let it happen. My opinion. I don't know if
Can
Phil
I?
agrees.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree. I disagree with one of the first things you said, and I'm just going off on a little tangent here, is that you were like, people have got to be really careful because of giving away corners. I actually think that we should be less scared of giving away corners than ever before. This again, I just have a quite strong opinion that they should completely revitalize corners, because what they've become, they used to be this amazing thing where someone would win a penalty corner and you had the chance of seeing a drag flicker rip it into the top corner. Now it seems like all we have is amazing number one runners. The conversion rates have never been lower, and all that happens is it's like a corner comes out, someone runs it down, someone refers it, we have a long break, no one gets excited. Now I think just corners are not exciting for hockey at all anymore, because of the skill rate that's gone up in the penalty corner defense, and making a completely separate point, but get rid of them.
Yeah, well, if I
And
can add to
that's
that, because
again where I disagree.
yeah,
I'm
I
sorry,
disagree as
Ernst. I'm
well.
gonna pitch
No,
you.
go, you,
I
go, you.
it's a different area, and I agree with Phil that the corner is less attractive than it used to be. But I think if you want to expand the game and if you want to grow it, I think 99% of people who don't play hockey and are not like in the sport know hockey for the penalty corner. No, Mink van der Weerde. I'm just
Bayat.
gonna name the Dutch because they pop in my head. Nip Jansen, Take Takema, those guys. Yeah, that's very patriotic of mine. I'm sorry, Phil. But the Payat, Hendricks, name them all. I think that's what hockey is now. If you ask a no hockey player, that's who they know. If you ask someone who's never played hockey, something about hockey, they all name Mink van der Weerde, for instance, or
Yeah,
Hendricks. So I
I've
think
maybe
you should use that.
not made my point completely clear. I just want to see more people be able to rip it in the top corners and stop us having these long breaks and running them down.
Yeah,
And
fair.
who wants to see that? It's not good for hockey as a product. So maybe just
No, fair.
make it a drag flick from the top.
Yeah, we're diverting a little bit from the topic here, but for me, it's pretty simple there, Phil. The corner takers, PC attack needs to get more creative. There are so many variations that are possible, and but because of the effect, the effectivity of a really good drag flicker, if you have the guys like Mink van der Weerde, Baart or Hendricks in your team, yeah, if you just keep on taking that direct hit, hitting the first runner every time, and getting a new corner, eventually it will go in. So that is effective. It's not interesting. It's not fun to watch. I fully agree. So maybe we should find more variations for the corner to solve that problem.
I'm for that's all good.
Yeah. We've got a question here from Taco. Keely, I'm seeing you're already answering it there. Just before the 23. The movement of the attacker, isn't that body shielding, as that can be called, if the ball is traveling on the ground? What do the players say? Because
just to illustrate, no, that's not body shielding at all for me, because no, not for anybody. It's not body shielding because the attacker has made a successful maneuver around and the defender is not in front. The whole point about shielding is that a defender is in a position to make a legal tackle and just isn't able to, because of the action of the attacker moving their body or their stick or another player in front of that tackle. But you know, when Zwicker reaches in the first time, he's just behind. And we're not going to expect attackers to then take the ball and move it into a different dribbling position and say, here you go. Would you like to try again? Make a tackle from this side now. And here you go. So that's completely not hockey. So
yeah. So do we agree
at least for me.
Do we agree that the second touch by Zwicker there could be enough for a PC? That's this one. Just
I agree with you, but you could see this going and Keely. Well, this could go either anyway. You could watch this clip 50 times, and you see them giving a full whistle in a big corner. You see the free out. You could see them giving a pretty hard whistle and a free hit outside the 25. It's basically a horrific job for the umpires, this one.
Yeah. Okay, let's move on to another clip that had me puzzled as well, and I think that it had Keely puzzled as well because she brought it. This is a clip from Germany outletting, getting the ball in the midfield, a bouncing ball because the defender is touching the ball and making it bouncy. Then there's a beautiful lob pass to Christopher Roer at the top of the D, and it's blown again. So let's look at this. Bouncing ball, beautiful pass. No danger. So, from a attacker-striker point of view, Phil, do you appreciate this kind of a pass?
Yeah, I love it. Like, again, I'm just saying the same thing, but like let hockey play. Like, I don't like if it says rule point 13 point B point 1, say you can't let it play. Like, this is this is lovely hockey. Like, yeah. let's just let this go, because that's what people want to see. They don't want to hear that, oh, he maybe hit it over the guy's head, so we don't want to see that. That's just infuriating for me.
Keely, you were just looking up rule 13.0.5.B.A about this. Why hasn't it been blown here?
I don't have to look it up. It's all up here. No, I'm just kidding. I regularly have to look things up. So we also reviewed this clip on What Up Wednesday right after it happened, and I have a lot of sympathy for the particular umpire here, because we can get ourselves into spots if we say, it's great hockey, let's just let it play, because the other team can turn around and say, that's not the fucking rule. You have to blow the rules. And so it really gets us into a bit of a judgmental pickle. The real problem is that the rules haven't kept pace with what the players can do and what they can do safely and what they can do amazingly. And this idea of not being able, so the reason that this sort of is here in the 3D skills is that it is a foul to intentionally hit a ball that in order to raise it. Okay, so you can't intentionally raise a ball on a hit. And all of those things sort of come into play here. But at the same time, the ball's already in the air. So do we
But
then
this
change the rules
Keely,
somehow that balls that are already in
yes,
the air get hit and that's okay?
yes,
Or
Keely, come on.
or
This
what?
is
I mean,
typical.
obviously, everybody wants this to go.
Yes, this is a typical example of where the rules get in the way of the game.
Yeah.
Obviously, okay, the rule is you can't intentionally hit a ball in the air. It's a stupid rule. If you ask players, the only rule should be: is there danger? Yes or no. Well, Joep and Phil, correct me if I'm wrong, but this is the kind of rule that you need to change probably if you listen to the players.
Yeah,
Joep?
agree. Yeah, nothing to add. I think you said it perfectly, Ernst. I think this is this is very this is what like as a in Dutch we say liefhebber, Ernst. I don't know how we say it in
Yeah.
English. Someone for the love of the game, you want to see this as much as possible. This kind of stuff. So no, I agree.
No, exactly. So loved this pass, but unfortunately the rules disallow it for now. So Keely, there's some work for you to do with your newfound friend in New Zealand who's on the rules committee. And as Ain says here, these skills make hockey more beautiful. So this is a typical rule that needs some revising, according to me. Huh? Let's move to some defenders moving the ball into the air. And let's look at this beautiful baseball hit in a game from Beeston against, I have no clue against who. But
Exeter.
Beeston. Okay, there we go. Exeter. So beautiful.
Joep, this is hockey in England, by the way.
Well, I've seen a certain Mink van der Weerde do exactly the same kind of a hit in an international game, for if I remember right. So it's not typical English this way. Is it the cricket hit or is it the baseball hit?
That's cricket. Come on.
That's cricket? Come on, this is baseball. Again, Joep, as a defender, should this be allowed? Should this be promoted? Such kind of getting the ball away. Should this be encouraged? Should we train for this?
No, I think this is this will get people killed. Exactly, this will get people killed. I think it's if one miss hit away from someone dying. So I think this is no.
Keely, what's your point of view from the umpires?
Well, I mean, when this first happened, I think this clip is, I don't know, 8 or 9 years old now. This is pre-COVID. And at the time, again, I'm a pro, like, let the players do what they want. They're fine. What's interesting to me, Joep, is that if the first one is okay and this one is not, what is it about this one that is the problem? And how do we make a rule, or how do we as umpires interpret it in a way that we can consistently call this as illegal, but the first clip with Germany and New Zealand as completely fine?
Excellent question. I want to say common sense, but I get that is a bit that's again a bit gray area. But this I think for one the hands together, like the hands like this or hands like this makes a big difference already. The amount of power you can create. I think also in a full circle. In a full circle, putting your stick in your neck, making a cricket swing with people behind you, in front of you, next to you. I think this is this kind of clips makes you want to wear a helmet to a hockey game.
Please don't. Let's look at the next one, because there's a similar clip in this one where we see a Korea against Pakistan, a corner, and the Pakistani defender reacts on the line. the PC, the drag flick is diverted by the first runner, and then you will see the Pakistani defender hitting the ball. Also with his hands together. So is this the same kind of thing, Joep, for you, where if he would have held his hands apart and had less of a swing at it, but just pushed it away, it would have made it less dangerous, and you would have allowed? And is
Yeah. I think so, but I think also that the referee should, like, it's a full circle, so I think the ref in this case should be quicker to like eliminate the danger to make if that makes sense. So as soon as this ball goes up, um, like right, yeah, it's easier said than done, but like the referee should like eliminate the danger now. I think if Korean moves into the ball, it creates a dangerous situation. So I think it's a retake, it's a corner again. Yeah, I just want to promote someone in full circle, whacking balls away at head height. But I think this, yeah, it's a difficult one. I don't know if he does something wrong. I think the referee is lucky that he isn't hit. It's a tough one for me, to be honest.
I kind of like both of them. Like,
why?
I do too, but I think it's fucking. You want me to do this, Phil, when I'm playing you?
you just miss it, so I reckon it'd be all right. It'd be all right.
Yeah. Fair.
The thing is that like we allow beautiful goals to be scored. So I know that Zach Wallace has scored 2 of them last year, where like the ball's coming across and he's hitting the ball through a crowded circle on the volley. And at the end of the day, both of them have actually, you were talking kind of like what if. Well, both of them have been executed very nicely, and they're not dangerous at all. So, like, if it's a good way of clearing the ball, then yeah. I mean, I also don't want to promote it because you want people who can actually do it to do it. But like, I'm struggling to. I'd struggle to. I would never be an umpire. It's a terrible job, but like I'd struggle to play against it.
Keely, with that nice comment here, how would an umpire
Sorry,
look at
Keely.
this? And like Raju is saying
No,
here,
I mean, Joep would also never be an umpire because he hates umpires. So, that's the thing. Yeah, again, here's the thing is that when it comes to danger, we're calling it after it's happened. So if somebody gets hurt regardless. And it's just, what are we doing in order to reset the unfairness to the teams after it's happened? But we actually don't put people's teeth back in their heads just because we call it as a penalty corner, right? So we're in a bit of a trap as umpires. How do we prevent the things that we know are going to be likely leading to danger without cramping players' style and their ability to express their skills? And how do we just let them do that and take the chances that Zach Wallace can score those goals? Because I agree, those goals were bloody brilliant, and that's what we want to see. And nobody did get hurt here, so it's really a. And the other thing I wanted to go back to was the notion of the 2 hands together at the top of the stick. So I hear this argument a lot when we're looking at the definition of what is a hit with indoor hockey, with the first shot on a penalty corner. And I try to steer people away from looking at that as a factor, because you can hit the ball, which is under the guidance is defined more by how much backswing is made rather than where the hands are on the stick. Because I don't know, the country I come from, people can have 2 hands apart on the stick and they can do a lot of freaking damage with that slap shot. So that's not what actually defines the hit, but Joep's right, you can impart more force when you have the pendulum working there. So but I just don't want people to get too hung up on that as a definition, because it's just not going to lead to the correct results for umpires. So hopefully people aren't saying, oh, well, if he slaps it out of the air, still is a hit, but slaps it out of the air with 2 hands, all of a sudden that's a lot safer. Like, it's not. It still could have the same amount of damage. So I think Raju's question there about shouldn't it be judge or on how hard or soft the raised ball. Again, that's the post event decision that doesn't put teeth back in the head. So I don't know how to handle that, and we just I just want umpires to get out of players' way. I know that sounds weird, but that is how I feel.
Okay, but then let's
No,
with this
I think it's some good points. I do want to say one thing, Keely. I don't dislike all umpires. I just dislike the really arrogant ones, which in my defense, there are quite a lot of them,
especially in the Netherlands.
especially in the Netherlands. Thank you, Ernst.
Well, you
Germany have got a few as well.
well, I think Ernst can vouch for the fact that I work really hard to try to get that arrogance out of all of us, and if we could all
Yeah.
just be a lot more chill and a lot more fun.
Keely always says the only arrogant umpire is the Canadian one. The other ones can't be arrogant. Just kidding, Keely. Just kidding. Just kidding. But with that last comment from Raju in mind, let's look at the next clip where we see Loïc Luipaard for Belgium taking the pass from his goalie, Van Asch, and moving it away with the lob, but in a more controlled way. Definitely with an Aussie player closer by. But because this lob is a little bit more controlled than the swings from the previous clips, is this something that would make this more acceptable? Joep, you were dead set against the swingers?
Yeah, I think this is like, yeah, I think it's exactly I think what Keely says is a good point. I think you can't put back the teeth in the mouth by making a rule for it. I think this is like, so, yeah, for me, like as someone who likes hockey, this is just really good and cool defending. To be honest, like he clears the ball. It's a bit contrary to what I just said. But yeah, I think Phil said it perfectly. Like, if it goes well, it goes well. Like if he smacks it into the face of an Australian guy, now we all say, "Oh, that's reckless and dangerous." And now I'm saying, yeah, it's a really cool, good pass in a tight situation. So yeah.
What I like is that all three clips, each player has intentionally tried to get it out of the way of players. It's not like they're putting it out at head height. In all of the clips, they're actively trying to lift the ball out with some form of control. Like, and that's probably, does intent come into it? I'm not sure, but like I kind of like all three for that reason.
Yeah.
As you said, if they then smash it into their face.
Yeah. Does intent come into it, Keely?
Not really, because I'm not a big fan of the word intentional at all in the rule book, because we're not here to read players' minds. They're inscrutable beings, so let's not pretend we understand any of that. What we look at is whether a player has full control over their body when they're executing the action that we're deeming to be intentional. So here, Luipaard is clearly, like, it's not like he's falling over or he's off balance or anything like that. He is in full control of the choice that he's made. So I'm not even touching that. This is an intentional action and an intentionally raised hit. But I mean, this is the final of the Olympics. Do you think anybody wants to call this as a penalty corner? Like, hell no.
Australia.
It absolutely is not.
I think Australia would like this.
Yeah. Yeah, Australia would. Yeah, pardon me. So, but the thing that I thought was interesting, Ernst, that you mentioned was the degree of control. And for me, that comes from the fact that there actually isn't that much of a backswing here. So Luipaard hasn't like full taken his stick back a meter and a half, and then batted out of the air, as we saw as in maybe that English League shot. And that goes back as well to the German New Zealand play, where really there actually wasn't that much backswing. And that's a piece of guidance that umpires try to impart, is sort of 50 centimeters, and I know that sounds ridiculous that we're measuring centimeters, but we are, as best as we can in the moment, how much backswing is made, because we don't expect a pushed ball to absolutely have the stick starting on the ball. So in this case, it really isn't like a big pendulum going through. It's quite a small distance. So maybe that's the area that we really need to focus on. And when the ball is in the air, how far away does the stick move? Somehow we calculate in the air. What a freaking hard decision this is to make. But does that work? Does that help us keep things safe and yet an expression of skill? That's just sort of a general question to anybody.
What do you think, players?
Yeah, again, some questions are tough to answer, and I think this is one of them. I don't know, to be honest. I think there will always be gray area, especially in hockey, and I think this is one of them. I think if it's not dangerous, and this isn't, just play on and appreciate how it's done. I think it's different than one from Beeson, as I said. I think, as Keely said, because it's a full swing, and I think this makes it less dangerous. And I think this is just cool to look at. So,
Well, exactly. Still, this was the last clip that I had for today. So, guys, thanks very much for all of your thoughts here. But can we come to some conclusions? And if I can offer one of mine first, is that the one that I remember from this talk and probably needs a change is that rule that the intentional hit in the air is prohibited. Yeah, is something that probably should be scrapped from the rules, and just look for the danger. Keely?
Oh, I'll let the guys chime in first, because I'm sure they're anxious to get their thoughts in.
Yeah, 100%. I think I think our goal is aligned between the four of us to make hockey as best spectacle to view. So when you make it just the danger and not all the other stuff, then that's going to get the best results. I think people will want to come and sit on a seat to watch that.
Yeah. Joep, what are your conclusions from the clips that you've seen? Do you think that something needs to change, both in the rules and possibly in should we be more training these kind of skills, both as a defender and as a striker, performing these 3D skills?
I think for the game of hockey it should be, because I think it's fun to watch. I think it adds another layer to the game, and I think I think the rule you said needs changing is the last one we spoke about. I don't know the exact rule, but like the intent. Intent thing, and I think Phil said it very well. I think as a defender, I don't want 3D skills to develop even more, because it's bloody tough to defend. But I already struggle with defending as it is, so please don't make it any harder on me now.
You've got big feet. You've got big feet,
yeah,
my friend.
It's really good for the game. I think it's fun to watch. I think people come watch games to watch the Jorrit Kroon goal, the Zach Wallace goals. Like that's the spectacular things people want to watch. So we should promote it, I think, as much as possible.
Mm-hmm. Keely.
Well, yeah, a lot of agreement. And I think what I'm most excited about is that when we have a conversation like this, it can illustrate to umpires at home just how much we are here to further the interests of the players, and that as long as we're keeping that in mind, that I think we're gonna push further and further to allowing players to do what they want to be able to do. I do have still concerns about entirely scrapping intentionally the intentional hit out of the air. I think we can probably develop a stronger set of guidelines as to what is actually a hit and what we can consider just sort of some kind of I can't remember, a few people in my community made up some words to describe a not very big hit out of the air, some kind of volley or something like that. I don't know, but because I still want to see that, but I don't want to see the full-blooded things as we did in a couple of those clips necessarily because of injury risks. So, but I've really enjoyed this. I can't wait to see Joep out there in Paris, defending all the 3D skills perfectly, because now he knows what he's going to do to train it. And Phil is going to go out there and start, dribbling with the ball glued to a stick in the air. It's going to be great. I'm really excited to see all these things happen.
Exactly. Let's close off with a couple of more questions that we've had here. So.
You're muted in the scene, Ernst.
Thank you very much. Lucas, as a question for Joep, as a defender, would you take the lead and try to steal the ball from a skillful player, or just wait as much as possible and wait for them to make the action and try to steal the ball?
Ooh. Yeah, it's again. It's a good question. I don't know if I have the perfect answer for it. I think as a defender, you should always try to be try and take initiative and not have the initiative too much with the attacker. I think it varies what kind of player you have against you. Like if I would have to defend a player like Phil, who's like really skillful in small spaces and has a really good right to left or left to right dribble, you try and defend your left foot a bit more. If you play against players like Welle or like Thijs van Dam, like the very quick, who are not as skillful in small spaces, but more for like running actions, or like players like myself who are not really skillful but can run quite fast. You would take less initiative and just try and keep up with them and run with them. So I think it really differs with what player you have against you. Like I would defend a Joep Kroon different than I would Roper. But I think taking initiative is always a good thing as a defender, and making the attacker go where you want him to go.
Yeah. We've got the question for Phil here. When's the next Let's Stick Together episode? For those who don't know, that's the podcast run by these guys here.
Yeah, hopefully in the next few weeks. We've took our break. Joep's been away a lot. We've all been pretty busy. It's mainly finding a date to get together, and I've got to deal with two idiots. So that's the biggest hurdle we've got. Getting us in a room is the first challenge, and then everything kind of, you've obviously listened, so it's pretty much carnage when we get going. So hopefully in the next 3 weeks.
Okay, that will be.
Have you listened, Ernst?
Not enough. It is on my to-do list. Very diplomatic answer.
You should.
I know I should. Normally I listen to and see everything there is to do about hockey, but yeah, sometimes it gets a little bit too much, and we have to make choices. But you are on my list, so I am going to listen to one of these episodes very shortly. So looking forward to the new one.
I listen to every single episode because I'm a good human being, and in fact, I usually listen as I'm getting ready for my live stream because it gets me just pissing with laughter. I'm having such a great time. So I highly recommend it to everybody. I'm talking about it all the time on my streams, getting the whole umpiring community. You got to listen to these guys because it's really, really funny. And then come watch my live stream. So there you go.
There we go. So you got some promotion out of this anyway then.
Yeah.
Guys, thanks very much for joining us here and sharing your thoughts and your insights and the way that you look at these 3D skills in the game. Thanks very much, Keely, as well, for joining us while on a working holiday in New Zealand. She's been working at the International Masters, whatever tournament there, but she's now doing some sightseeing, if that's correct. So enjoy the rest of the Thursday there. We've got our Wednesday night ahead of us here, and just want to thank everybody here for making this an interactive session. Cool questions, cool comments from you guys in the audience as well. So that was fun to watch and fun to experience. Any parting comments? No, that's okay, guys. Thank you very much. It was fun talking with you, talking hockey with you. Bye bye.
Bye.